Hi everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth in Story, and I am here to take a look at Kyle Gray's Angels and Ancestor Oracle cards. The deck is by Kyle Gray. The beautiful artwork is by Lily Moses. This is a Hay House deck, and I have to say, production-wise, it's stunning. It is what I consider perfect cardstock of silky matte cardstock, borderless silky matte. It's like my idea of perfection. And so anyways, I had seen that this was coming. I do have, I think, or I've had in the past, one other of Kyle Gray's decks. His decks tend to be more angelic based, starseed energy, these kinds of things. Didn't always quite resonated with me as much. But when I saw this artwork for this image that you're seeing right here, I was completely intrigued. Anything that has the word ancestor in it is going to be one that is going to catch my attention. And so I was excited about this. In live chat earlier today, I had mentioned that I was excited about this, but Amazon has it as not coming out or not shipping out for a few weeks. But Miss Auset, who has a YouTube channel here, and I'm going to put a link to, she does a walkthrough of this, and it's a very powerful walkthrough, especially the first half of it that's not the walkthrough. You know, she kind of discusses her perspective on a lot of the decks that have been coming out of late, and it's really a powerful video, so I highly suggest taking a look at that. But I saw that she had put it up, but I had not seen it yet. And she had said that other people had had success finding it at Barnes and Nobles. So I had to go out after live chat and ran in to see if they had it, and they had one copy of it. And it was 20% off day at 4 days of 20% off at Barnes & Nobles if you have the membership. So I had 20% off. So I think it ended up costing me like $15. You know, it's Hay House decks are not a big investment. They're the type of decks that I'm perfectly happy to invest in, even sometimes sight unseen, if I just know that people are going to be interested in seeing the deck and seeing if, so for review purposes, it's not a lot of money. And so, you know, I'm perfectly willing to take a peek. One of the things that is nice about this particular deck is Hay House has an app for the Angels and Ancestors. And I think you get like a 7-day free trial, so you don't even have to pay anything. And you can look at all of the cards. Now, it's not exactly the same as experiencing them in person, but you certainly get to see every single image. And so I had already done that. And so I went ahead and purchased this. I have looked through this. I sat through Miss Auset's walkthrough and kind of looked through them one by one along with her walkthrough. So that was a lot of fun. That doesn't happen to me very often. I'd seen all the images on the app, but it was still kind of fun to sit through and go through a walkthrough and do that along with somebody. I generally have already, you know, seen the decks, or I don't have them at the same time I see the walkthrough, so it was just a nice little combination. So anyways, so yeah, so I'm really excited about this, and it's really, I think it's a beautiful deck. I'm really pleased with it. Typical Hay House, again, Hay House boxes. I feel like production, just in general, on decks, mass market decks, has really taken a jump in the last year or two, which is lovely. This is a $15 deck. The box is beautiful, has matte, has gilding, overlays, not, you know, a lot, but on the titles here, it has the inner, you know, inner kind of text that a lot of indie decks have now, which I like. Guardians of the Four Corners, Mother in the Earth, Father in the Sky, Angels, Ancestors, Sacred Ones, I call on you and welcome you here and now. So it's a welcome prayer to the angels and ancestors. And then on the other side, I set the intention that whatever is gained from the lessons learned from this tool will be dedicated to the growth of all beings in all places. I think that is just beautiful. So again, I just feel like, you know, $15, people. Like, it does it's good to see. Again, it's a typical Hay House book. It has black and white thumbnails. It does seem to have some spreads, which I always like to see. A Celtic Compass spread, a Past Life Lessons spread, which I did do on the app, and some 3 questions and some 1 questions. Talks about jumping cards, you know, just your typical things that you might see. It does have 4 different sections. Sacred ones are the bulk, and then there are 12 guardians and messengers. There are some warrior symbols and cards for the seasons. So that's kind of how it's split up. I do like this beginning here. Congregating within the hidden spiritual realms are angels and ancestors who are using their wisdom to help heal the earth. We can access this incredible force of love, but first we must be willing. This oracle will help you to forge that connection. So I'm not sure when my camera wonked out at me. It used to do that where it went dark like that, and it's stopped doing it for a long time, and all of a sudden it started up again. So I'll have to just be more mindful of it. I was just saying that he kind of defines what angels and ancestors are. He sees the angels as divine beings who are pre-human intelligent souls charged with monitoring the well-being of all sentient beings, whereas ancestors are the souls of departed wisdom keepers from all parts of the world, the wise ones, the warriors, the medicine people, the shamanic healers, and others who had knowledge that helped their people grow and develop. So together, you know, it's this kind of powerful offering of wisdom that can come forward. Now, I'm just taking a peek here at the guidebook, Deck Explain. So it looks to be alphabetical, which I am perfectly happy with. Again, as long as something is either numbered or alphabetical, I'm thrilled. When it is not numbered nor alphabetical, that's when my pet peeves come in. So I know that Miss Auset ended up numbering so she could go right to, I think, the page number. But I'm quite happy with it being alphabetical, so that's good. So again, typical. For me, a really good Oracle deck isn't really, I don't tend to go back very often to the guidebooks. Some decks even work better for me when I don't, because I don't always get on with Oracle guidebooks, such as even say, I do love the Mystical Shaman because I love the artwork in that deck. Love it beyond measure, and that deck for me works better just to use it with the keywords, and you know, I don't even go back to the guidebooks. And so some decks are, a lot of Oracle decks are like that for me. And so when it has a name plus a basic concept, that's usually enough to kind of key you in to what you're doing. But if you want to go to the book, you're able to. So let me just read this one really quick, just so we have a feeling for the text. I'm going to keep the book out of the way. I think that's the white is what's freaking my camera out. I'm going to zoom in here. We're going to obviously look a little more at the deck backing and stuff, but I just want you to get an idea of the text. So it has the image of the card as well as the druid in the hold of space. And then the message is, hold things together. Don't make any sudden moves or changes. Stand strong, knowing you are where you are supposed to be. It says about, the Druids were the ancient wise ones of the British Isles. They had a deep connection with the earth and the sun and the moon. They were the scholars who created the Ogham tree language. That's, you know, just having gotten done with an Ogham class, you know, we don't know exactly who created it, but that's okay. They certainly used it. And they were known for the creative skills in storytelling, poetry, and craftsmanship. And one other thing I will say is that there are practicing druids today. There is the Order of Bards. I think it's Order of Bards and Oviates, Druids, Bards, and Oviates. I could be wrong. There is an active druidic going on even today. The extended message is, when the Druid card appears in a reading, you're being guided to dig deep within and hold your station. If you're wondering about what to do next or have a sense of anxiety about what is unfolding in your life, it's time to shift your perceptions and move back to a state of trust. Don't change your plans or do anything drastic. Just trust in the process and let everything happen as it needs to before taking any more steps. Think of a tree. It has strong roots, yet continues to grow and bear fruit. Your life will be a reflection of this. Beautiful image, as you can see here. Again, you know, it's nice. I'm not going to keep saying I usually do bad at repeating myself. I feel like this idea of holding space or even holding fast, like you can get this pretty clearly with this card. So it's a nice amount to kind of lead you in the right direction if you want to get some more information. I don't know if everyone talks about the different cultures, so I'm going to kind of keep this up so that I can check that as we go. But image-wise, Lily Moses has some beautiful imagery here. I think I love the colors. Again, it's silky matte, beautiful cardstock. The backing is gorgeous with I would say that would be a Native American drum there with the owls, the stag horns. But you get a lot of sense here of, you know, this for me speaks to Celtic stag horns. You have the owl, you have the sort of almost like the flower of life crystal thing there. You have this kind of sun over here. So it does kind of speak to a lot of different things, and I think it's beautiful. So again, artwork is vivid, bold. The colors remind me of sort of the shamanic healing cards in that sort of beautiful, vivid. Color works. I know a lot of deck creators used to do things glossy because they felt like that's what made color really pop. I'm here to say that the decks that we've seen of late have shown that you can have gorgeous matte cardstock and still have this really beautiful, vivid colors. So love it, love it, love it. Beautiful elder here. This is obviously an Aboriginal elder. Move beyond ancestral patterns. So again, he is talking, the Aboriginal people are the oldest tribal people still living on the planet. I've done some reading of late. I don't remember what it was. It was probably, you know, there's been a lot of ancestor decks out, shamanic style decks out that I'm going to do a video of all of them that I have. And so I don't know if it was in researching things for one of those decks, but I kind of got, you know how you sometimes start here, then you ramble off on an informational trail, and it was all about at the Aboriginal people and them being the oldest people, sort of tribal unit that's still kind of intact. It was really fascinating, and so that was quite anyways, that was just random. The faces are just, I mean, she does a really beautiful job capturing sort of the wisdom on these faces. We have Father Sky, trust in the unknown. Now this speaks to me of Zeus with the lightning, of course, and that kind of thing. However, they do talk about Father Sky is the name of the Native Americans and many other indigenous tribes have given to God. So I went with Norse because I think it was the lightning and even the eagle, which isn't necessarily Norse, but for whatever reason, when I first saw this image and saw Father Sky, I thought Zeus. So I feel like it could go in many different ways, but it's just that universal masculine. Great teacher. This, to me, is quite obviously a representation of Jesus. So you have that, and it does say that this card was inspired by Jesus, who was one of the most widely acknowledged and loved spiritual teachers of all time, or is, not was. But this is interesting is because they do talk in the guidebook about, while this represents Jesus, this is that concept, though, of those great teachers who have come and had so much to share, and so it can be reflective of all of those things. So it's quite beautiful. Love this hermit. Absolutely love this hermit. retreat and recharge. I like that many of the cards are kind of inspiring action. You know, hold space, so just hold, move beyond, learn from, retreat, recharge, trust. You know, there does seem to be that sense of giving you actionable messages, which is always a good thing, I think. This is beautiful, though. This one doesn't speak. Oh, yes, it does. Let's see. The cross-legged meditation of the cave-dwelling sadhu, S-A-D-H-U. The Sri Yantra symbol behind him represents the union of masculine and femininity, hence supports from Mother God, Mother, Father, God. So that idea of the cohesive Mother God. So it does seem to be telling us at least where the imagery is coming from. Now, the High Priest, intend and create, and the High Priestess, harness mystic power, go together here with the Egyptian feel, which is, you know, that I'm not a huge fan of Egyptian. I don't resonate a lot with Egyptian things, but this is beautiful. I think these are great representations to use. I love the cat and the hawk or the falcon here. She looks beautifully regal. So those are gorgeous. There's a couple of sets that we see. These are one of them. Then we have the gorgeous hunter, which I'm assuming is Kronos, a Celtic. Track down your fear. Again, it's not just, oh, you're having fears and desires. It's like track down, figure them out, find them, right? It's very, the words are very descriptive and active. Do this, which I quite like for a oracle deck. I love that there's a knight. Obviously, the history of knights are fraught with wonderful adventures, such as the Knights of the Round Table and King Arthur. Then you have some horrible travesties associated with knights. But, you know, the Knights Templar, the concept of the knight in general is to kind of be brave, to be honest, to uphold honor. So I love that this archetype is here. I think it's beautiful. So then we have another set with the Lord and Lady, which appear to me to be more, again, Celtic in base, which obviously for me is quite a lovely thing. Take charge and enjoy. So again, it's not just growth and rewards, but enjoy them. Take time to enjoy them. Take charge of your authority here. So that's beautiful. She looks like, you know, I'm guessing some of these people were created off of actual people. Some of them look very much like actual people. Like the artwork was inspired by, or, you know, she painted off of paintings in some way, which I think is lovely. I'm just catching myself up. Oh yes, the hunter is Cernunnos. He is the stag god of the wild. We have the knight here talking about the protector of the Holy Grail. So it's knighthood at its most honorable. And then of course we have the Lord and the Lady. You see definitely some tarot influences, don't you? With the Hermit, the Lord and the Lady sort of as the Emperor and the Empress, the High Priest and the High Priestess. So there are definitely some tarot, and she does, or Kyle does talk about this here, known as the Empress in the traditional tarot. So we have that there as well. Sorry, I wanted to kind of get myself back into the book just to see if it's giving us concepts of where these are coming from. So that's another set. Here we have Medicine Mother, which is gorgeous. Let's see if they tell us kind of what she represents in terms of culturally. Not on this one. She's more of that maternal figure who knows best. She knows what it's like to suffer and to want to give up. The Medicine Mother reminds you that even though you have low lows, you aren't here to suffer. You're here to be supported and to support others, so on and so forth. So this doesn't speak to a specific culture, The blues here are very interesting. And the shells, the this cowrie shells. So I don't know, for somebody who might know the cultures better by those symbols, if this speaks to a specific culture to somebody, I would love to just jot that in my book. But I'm wondering if maybe the cowrie here might, and I don't know, there's something about the blue and the cowrie shells that are, it's niggling at my brain that this might, we might be able to track that down in our heads. So does it matter? No, but I always am interested when you have decks that are multicultural, as this clearly is, to be able to know, you know, what we're looking at. So then we have the counterpart. They aren't together because it's alphabetical, but here we have the counterpart to the Father Sky and the Mother Earth. Of course, she's pregnant, sort of with the world as her belly here. We do have that feminine goddess figure there as well. Here we have a beautiful card. This, I think Auset had mentioned the Sibyls, and I definitely think you get this sense of the Oracle of Delphi from Greece, which is actually mentioned in the book, now that I'm just skimming it. She's reminiscent of the Oracle of Delphi, a psychic priestess of ancient Greece. So we have some Greek here, just beautiful. She's a beautiful artist. I mean, she's just gorgeous. Here we have the Peacekeeper. I'm guessing this is White Calf Buffalo Woman, because, or White Buffalo Woman, yeah. Yes, she is a wise Native American woman who's been influenced by, again, I think the artist is, you know, she's not going for obviously exact representations. These are just what she was influenced by in terms of painting them. So, it's beautiful. Let go of the need to be right. Here we have what seems to be a Hindu, I would assume. Just, let's see if he's saying, it doesn't, a yogi, yeah. So this beautiful, again, beautiful card, beautiful artwork. Be devoted. Don't just think about devotion and commitment, but be devoted, be committed. I don't know, I know I'm kind of harping on the language, but I do think that that makes a difference, right? I do believe that that says something. There's a difference if they just have the word devotion and commitment. That's great, and it would get us somewhere close to that. It's not the same as saying be committed, be devoted. There is an action that is being asked of you. And I personally find that ancestor, working with, I don't work a lot with angel energy, but certainly with ancestor energy, which I do work with, this is more what I would expect, right? Versus just, you know, oh, this kind of, like, do this, be this, right? This is kind of a call to action. And I really appreciate that about these keywords. Love this seer here. Very beautiful fortune teller. It says many indigenous peoples have seers in the family or tribe, so they don't have this really next to anything specifically, but I mean, it's beautiful. I think that you would probably get a little bit of a feel of, say, a Ramani energy. I think just because we're trained to think of that with crystal balls, even with the headpieces and things of that nature. There's another one that speaks to travelers that does have that Ramani vibe as well. Here we have a beautiful and powerful Native American shaman. At least I would read this as Native American energetically, but very powerful. Trust in higher forces. It doesn't, you know, point to this specifically, but, you know, that, I guess, and I could be wrong here. Just my instinct is obviously that it seems to be Native American with the drum and these kinds of things, the feathers, all of this, which is beautiful. Very powerful. This I really love too. This is a Shaolin Master. I don't know that I have ever seen a card like this in a Oracle deck. I think Miss Auset says the same thing. So we have this sort of monk type energy here. But I love this idea of movement and action and having grace. Be graceful in movement and action. So there are many different of these types of movements, such as Tai Chi or Qigong, these kinds of things that embrace movement and form as a meditative spiritual pursuit. And so I think that that's an unusual card to see in a deck, and it's gorgeous. This is, I think, really beautiful as well. Here we have a Shapeshifter. Now this does have a kind of, feels similar. For me, this one's slightly cheesy. Like, I feel like Shapeshifter speaks to this energy. I think that for me, takes care of the energy that we're looking at. But let me just take a peek here. So we have the Shapeshifter, and there are many cultures. This seems to be Native American. That's just kind of the thought that I had. There are many cultures, Celtic cultures as well, that work with shapeshifting, and I think this is beautiful, and certainly one that I would, a card that I love to have in the card. Shapeshifting is a very powerful energy when you are working with ancestor energy and those types of things. So I love having this card here. The she-wolf one is a little bit like, but I guess you have this sort of male wild shapeshift energy, and you have the female, but she's the alpha female, half wolf, half woman. Like, I understand the representation, but I do feel like Shapeshifter applies that same energy to male or female. So you could see this as another set. I'm going to kind of set it out. I've got some piles here, but it's not my absolute favorite because I don't know if it's absolutely necessary. Shieldmaiden is gorgeous. This is a very powerful Norse figure. He does say Viking traditions. I could be wrong, but, you know, Norse speaks to the culture. Vikings, from my understanding, were a class, so to speak. They were the ones that were out a Viking. A Viking was out, you know, going out and attacking villages and plundering and expanding lands and these kinds of things. So to call it a Viking tradition, I would think would be more of a Norse tradition. That's nitpicking, but I'm just putting it out there. I do love that there's a shield maiden. I love the concept of the shield maidens. That is a very strong warrior, a female warrior energy that I quite like to see. Here we have a spirit fox. I love foxes, so I think that's pretty neat. There's not a bunch of animals in this deck at all, but I wonder, it's interesting is like, why would just be the fox be here? It's his favorite animal of all time, so that would make sense. It's probably his totem energy, but it's beautiful. I love it. As with I said, his other decks do have star seed or star child ancestry type thing. So we do have the star ancestor, follow the voice of your soul, and stargazer, set your sights higher. I do feel like these are kind of repetitive cards. I do think that might be Kyle Gray. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. But that was the first thing I thought when I saw it. Is this a picture of Kyle Gray? Personally, I feel like these are repetitive cards. Follow the voice of your soul, set your sights high, follow your vision forward. So I don't necessarily need probably both of these cards. Cards here, but you know, I'm one of those people that the star seed kind of thing doesn't always speak for me. So I probably would keep one of these in and not. If I got both of these, I feel like I'm saying the same thing. You know, put my sights. There's no way to set my sights higher than to follow the voice of my soul. So I feel like I would be, if I got these two next to each other, I would kind of feel like I was just repeating myself. So I would probably keep one of these and not keep both. Is probably the way that I would do that. And I would probably keep this one. Then we have the Traitor. So this was kind of a shift, right? Like we were kind of Shaolin Masters, Spirit Foxes, you know, lords and ladies and high priestesses and teachers and things of that nature. And then all of a sudden it was like, and here's a traitor. It's like, okay, that was a little bit of a shift here. But I like the message, right? That exchange of energy, that we don't just sit around and wait for abundance to occur, but to exchange energy back and forth, and in order to create that energy or that abundance, I think is really powerful. So I really like having that there. Here's a traveler. I get the sense of maybe Romani heritage. Yes. Although he does use the gypsy spirit. I know that gypsy is not a word that actual Romani people prefer. I believe it's considered derogatory, but I could be. I'm sure that there are some that would say, oh no, we perfectly like that, but that was my understanding. But anyway, so this to me does speak to the Romani. It's a beautiful image. I love it. And it's this idea of moving, you know, continue to move forward. Very powerful. So here to me we almost have a set of the Shieldmaiden with that powerful female warrior, and then I would assume this is Maori. I don't know if he says, it doesn't say. I kind of get the feel like it's Polynesian or Maori or something of that nature, but I could be wrong. It's very powerful looking. The face painting is very powerful, so I love having that those energies there as well. Now, Miss Auset was saying this was one that kind of was like, just with the idea of the white witch and the concept, obviously, of white being pure and good. I think this could have simply been witch without having any other connotations to it. Of course, we have that concept that we hear a lot of now in today's culture with be the light. So I think it's a lovely card, but I think it could have simply said witch, because this is a good card to have. Just in terms of the concept of, because for me, witchcraft is a practice, right? So where other things are embodying certain energies, this is practicing. This is putting those things into practice. So I think, you know, that could have been a little bit different, but I do like the inclusion of the energy. Love the crone energy here. This could have been named crone for me, and I do quite like this. The energy here, but this could is wise one. Grow your current situation. So this is the wisest aspect of the goddess, the crone. In paganism, modern Wicca, the crone is the fiercest, most psychic, and most aware aspect of the goddess. And that ends the first part. Or the first section, because then we get to the guardians. So we have, they're not, because it's alphabetical within its suits, we don't have these in order, but we do have all of the elements. So let me just go ahead and pull those out here. We have the air, we have the fire, we have water. So I'm just trying to find earth. Here's the earth. So we have earth, sort of with this sort of green energy. It looks very fey, almost an elfish fey kind of energy. We have water, which does kind of have that hint of mermaid energy. We have fire, which to me feels kind of djinn-like, which you do kind of equate with fire energy. And then we have these air guardians. I know this is, the way that this is designed makes me think of a particular culture, but I can't name it on the top of my head. So we do have all four of the elements in this section, which I do like to have represented. And then the rest of the guardians, we have animal, which is of course the front of the box, which is a gorgeous image. Trust your instincts. We have the direction guardians for the north. Now I quite like this because one of the decks that I do use, I think there's actually more than one. I know Mystical Shaman, and I think there's another one that has the compass or the directional understanding. And so that when I get those cards, you actually are looking at each of the directions and what questions that might ask you. So I actually quite like the directions in a single card. It's something that I've come to quite enjoy. It makes you kind of walk through the directions to see what those might have to say at the time. So I was actually glad to see that this was there. We have a beautiful guardian angel card. What I like about this card, and I believe Miss Auset also said this was her favorite depiction of a guardian angel. What I like is that there's no gender, there's no race, there's no even human and or animal, right? Because this is a feather. This could be an angel wing. This could be a feather. So I feel like that many people have various understandings of guardian energies, and that this completely opens that up to being anything, so then makes it quite powerful. So I do love that. We have Heart Guardian with the Sacred Heart. This is really beautiful. Love and let yourself be loved. We have the Magic Guardian, unlock the magic within. Very powerful. The way that the hands are and what they're holding seems quite powerful there. We have the Medicine Guardian, which is interesting with all the green. It really, to me, speaks of like the heart chakra or something like that, which I think would be healing. We have the Catechist here. So we have that. This is one of my favorite images. I think this is absolutely gorgeous. The Mirror Guardian, taking time to reflect. And then this is also, I think, stunning. Protection Guardian, drop your shields, which is interesting. Now, this is strange to me because if I got a Protection Guardian, I would say it was a time to actually put my shields in place. It says here that it's a feminine version of the Archangel Michael. She is fierce, protective, yet loving warrior angel who carries an indestructible shield of power and will come to all who call. She will help you to drop your fear-based shield. So I guess that's what I would say. Drop your fear-based shields, but maintain the shields that are important, because I do think it's good to have a card that says put your shields up, because there are times in which we need them, and I would certainly take those as thus. So that is all of the guardians, which brings us to then the symbols of power. So I believe in the guidebook he talks about having a dream about these different symbols. But you have Arrow, which is saying put up your shields, basically. Surround yourself with protective energy. Broken Arrow, embrace the energy of peace. You know, bring the arrows back together. Drum, I love having a drum card. Dream and journey. Again, all active-based keywords. Eagle, see from a higher perspective. Love that. Moon energy, take note of intuitive messages. That's a beautiful card. Mountains, stand your ground, endurance, all of those wonderful things. Snake, shed your skin, transformation. Stag, to trust and thrive. Certainly a power thing for Celtic mythology. I love the Triskel here. That stag energy really speaks to me. Sun, gorgeous, enjoy success and happiness. Of course, I'm always happy. So then we have 4 seasons. And I'm always happy when a raven or crow shows up for releasing the old and rest. Spring for see your seeds grow with the rabbit. Summer with bask in joy and light and the bee. And then, of course, I'm happy. So in the seasons, 2 of my main totem energies show up in the deck. That makes me extremely happy. Okay, so I kind of, these are the piles I end up making when I'm kind of working with a deck. This is probably the only card that I won't leave in, just because for me personally it feels similar to the other star one, and I liked the phrasing of the keyword on the other one. So this is one I may not keep in, so I don't have those. That's how I try to think about it. If I had that card come up right next to each other, would I really see the difference there? Would that kind of set me feeling like I kind of have a wasted card slot because they're saying similar energies? But so I don't feel like there's a lot of redundant energy here, which is great to see. I love these seasonal cards. Love that, you know, my two main totems showed up and are present in the deck, which I love. Would have loved to have a bear as well, but you know, you can't be picky when that shows up for you and says hello. So I love having the seasonal cards. I'm always a big fan of having the elements. Of course, I spoke of loving the single direction card. I really like to have that there. There are several, for me, sets of duos. The Shieldmaiden and Sheared Warrior, masculine, feminine. Now, I know that there are some people that find that duality to be problematic. I'm a person who actually enjoys working with that. I don't think that it is a gender thing. I don't see it as male and female, but the understanding of masculine, feminine that we all have within us. But I am really comfortable with that energy of sets like that. So for me personally, that works well. Shapeshifter, She-Wolf. This is the other one I forgot, She-Wolf. This I do feel, now unleashing the wild is a little bit different than transforming and unveiling your gifts. And I do have I think it's in the Mystical Shaman, has a wild woman card that I have had come up in readings in really powerful ways of sort of just releasing and just kind of embracing that wild energy. So I'll probably leave this in for a little while to see how it shows up. If these came in next to each other, I could see myself reading these in a different way. So for right now, I'm going to go ahead and leave that one. And that was the only other one that was like, of course, we have the High Priestess and the High Priest. We have the Lord and the Lady. And then we have the Mother Earth and Father Sky, which I have in another deck that I actually, I think Father Sky is in a tarot deck, Naked Heart Tarot, which I actually quite like, as the Emperor. So those are just my little piles that I was making up. Whoops. So let's see how these shuffle together. I will have to, I think that I will edge these in the matte gold that I really like to edge. One of these cards, usually with Hay House, yeah. This happens with Hay House decks. They wrap their decks in a paper wrap. I know that a lot of people like decks that have those plastic or paper shields around them, but I often find that the bottom card gets ruined when that not ruined, but the edges get messed up when they do that. And I did notice that when I took it off. So that's definitely the case there. That happens. I've had that happen with more than one Hay House deck. So they either need to not use those paper binders or make them looser, I guess. I don't know. Shuffles beautifully. This feels like Mystical Shaman, which is a gorgeous, the same gourd. I think Mystical Shaman is Hay House as well. I'm a huge fan of this card stock. But I was saying, I think what I will trim this in is that I have a matte gold pigment marker, Winsor Newton pigment marker, that I think I will do this. It'll be very difficult to match this beautiful teal color, blues and teals, but I think the matte gold would look really gorgeous. So I think that's how I would do this. Let me give it another shuffle because obviously it's fresh, although the way that I pull 3 cards, it doesn't, I guess, much matter. Hello, wolf. Winter, so take care of one's needs. Summer, bask and see. Now you saw, all those were actually next to each other. And then the hunter tracked down your, so I probably need to give them a little more shuffle, right? Because it is new. Take care of your needs by basking in joy and light. And the end, also another way of taking care of your needs is to bask in joy, but hunt down your fears, right? So be proactive. Find those things that do allow you to experience joy and healing, and at the same time track down the things that might be interrupting. Now, desires aren't a negative thing, but I kind of like the juxtaposition of basking in joy and tracking down fears. You're being proactive about light and shadow there, so I do quite like that. So even with those coming next to each other, very readable. So obviously I have not read with this. You just saw the first, walk through, other than walking through with Miss Auset. What I really like about this is the artwork is beautiful. The size is perfect. It's really good. Like I said, I've done a lot with Mystical Shaman, so I'm really happy with this size and this cardstock. But what I really like about this is the keywords. I think it's extremely action oriented. Give me actionable messages. That's really great to have when perhaps you have picked out or have been working with a very information gathering reading, to then have an action oriented card to kind of wrap things up, I think is actually really helpful to say, okay, this is all the information we've gathered, now here's what we're going to do about it. And I think that could work quite well with a deck. I also think that this will probably be just something I do judge things by. I cannot help it. I cannot help it. I think this will probably look quite lovely. I want to kind of get a mix of cards. Oh, I love that card. I do like it with my deck as well. And I also think it would look good with the Naked Heart Tarot. I found that the Naked Heart Tarot has been really lovely to work with these really vivid decks, because there's so much white space that it really allows for to interact visually well with really vivid decks like that I quite am loving in Oracle decks. So I find this to be a great tarot deck to work with vivid cards like this that I am, are the majority of my Oracle decks that I love. So yeah, just a little look there with a couple things. So I hope that you have enjoyed this. For me, this is a bit of a no-brainer. I think that as Miss Auset speaks to far better than I ever could, it does an amazing job at being multicultural. It does an amazing job of understanding that these deep wells of spirituality cross continents, cross time, cross cultures, and I think it does an amazing job at that. Again, love the action-oriented. I'm guessing, since it retails for $18.99, I'm guessing that on Amazon is going to be around $15. With my coupon, it was about $15 at Barnes & Noble's. For me, it's a bit of a no-brainer. It's beautifully made. The cardstock is stunning. The box is amazing. And so it really is a no-brainer. I think this is going to be one of my favorites. Stay tuned for watching for, I'm glad that I waited for this one. And I'm going to pull out all of the shamanic decks that I've gotten in the last year and kind of do a little bit of a compare and contrast to them. But this is beautiful, and if this is something that caught your interest, unless obviously this didn't speak to you when you saw all the images, I wouldn't hesitate on this one. It's beautiful.